Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Wanted to do a quick training video in lieu of our live training this week, just to touch base on a few topics that people keep asking me about. So what I'm going to address today is when to stop eating, protein, and when to adjust your MyFitnessPal settings. Hopefully this is about like 10 minutes. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know. I am happy to go into as much detail as you guys want on it. So the question I keep getting is, when do you stop eating? And I want to give you a little bit of science background on this. So have you heard of your basal metabolic rate? This is the unique number of calories that your body needs in order just to function at rest. It's based on your age, your weight, your height, your gender, and your muscle mass. So it's unique to you, and it's what your body will burn in calories, even if you didn't get out of bed for the day. So it's usually about 1,200 to 1,500 for women, higher for men. And then on top of that, you're going to add in how you generally move throughout the day. Eating food has a thermal effect and burns calories just by the act of breaking down and digesting it. Exercise and all the other things you do throughout the day that require energy and therefore burn calories. So what that means is that really only 5 to 10% of the total calories you burn a day are coming from working out. What burns the most calories? It's having a very healthy metabolism that maximizes your basal metabolic rate. Society has conditioned us for so long to drastically cut your calories to lose weight. But if you're eating at an extreme deficit, you will lose weight at first, but then your weight loss will stall because your metabolism will slow down and your body will adapt. That's called metabolic adaptation. We don't want that happening, because the only way to break through that plateau is to cut calories again. And pretty soon you're left with nothing. That's not an option. That's not sustainable. Weight loss is a science. In order to do it effectively, we want to follow a plan that has a reasonable calorie deficit. So like in the range of 250 to 500 calories a day. That deficit is going to give you a total that is above your basal metabolic rate. If it takes a few weeks for you to start losing weight with this plan that we're doing, eating in a reasonable calorie deficit, well, that might be a sign that you started this program with your hormones or your metabolism that was adapted or out of sync and not optimally working, which means that the consistency we are putting together in this program is going to be what your body then eventually responds to, but it might just take a little bit longer for your body to repair where it was starting from and then react to that consistency. So the faster way, this lifestyle is going to balance out your hormones and get that metabolism up and running with that reasonable calorie deficit I mentioned, nothing extreme. So hopefully by now you're getting the point that eating in an extreme deficit and working out more is not the answer. Both of those things will increase stress to your body and have long-term negative side effects. They will not help you reach your goal. They fall into the quick fix category. We're ending the yo-yo dieting. We're ending that extreme calorie deficit. We are getting our bodies up and running with an efficient metabolism through consistent calories that are comprised of the right macro balance. Okay, so that's the science side. So now to the punchline. When do you stop eating? Really, you should never be eating below your basal metabolic rate. That would be considered an extreme deficit. So the lowest end roughly is 1,200 calories a day on the lowest days. So those low macro rest days, the lowest you really should be going is 1,200 days. On our low carb regular macro days, yes, eat until full or you hit your calories, whichever comes first. But ideally, you should be within 100 to 200 calories of your total goal if you're stopping short. I don't want to see those regular macro low carb days looking like a rest and recovery day with your calories cut so low. Really, you're not doing your body any favors by under eating. So I really hope, hopefully, that understanding the science behind this will motivate you to fuel your body properly. This is probably why I always say that I love to eat, because I do. I'm fueling my body. I'm keeping my metabolism going and keeping it working optimally. So let's eat, hit those goals. Next topic I wanted to talk about was protein. Protein. It's not a magical nutrient, but it is one you need. So you've heard a lot about low fat diets, low carb diets, etc., but you don't really hear about low protein diets, because we all need protein in a healthy range. Protein is essential for building your muscle, your bone health, and producing hormones and antibodies. If you are under consuming protein, then looking and feeling healthy will be extremely difficult. However, there's also an upper limit where you get no increased benefit from eating too much protein. In fact, you end up relying too heavily on shakes and supplements to get there, which is not ideal. You can have digestive issues, and you might not be able to fit enough of those fats and carbs in that you need, which have benefits as well. And as my mother always said, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And such is the case with excessive protein. So how much protein do you need? Well, science supports a healthy range of about 0.6 to 0.8 grams of body weight, maybe on the high end up to 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight. So everybody's numbers are different, but go ahead, do the math. In that default 20% range that the MyFitnessPal defaults to and the program recommends, should be at the low end of that healthy range, the 0.6 to 0.7 grams per pound of body weight for most of you. So that's sufficient. 20% is great, it's sufficient. However, there is room to go up to the upper end of that healthy range, the 1 gram of protein per pound. Hence, that's why I'm always commenting that somewhere in that 20 to 30% range is okay. There's really no need, though, to lock in at that 30% range, which would put you at that 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight ratio, because not hitting that every day is not failing. That just means maybe you're hitting the low end of the acceptable range on 20% days, as opposed to the high end of the acceptable range. So that's why you'll see me constantly being like, make sure you're hitting your protein grams, because that 20% is reflective of the low end of the acceptable range. And that's why you'll see me saying it's okay if you go up to that 25, some of you maybe even 30%, because that's the high end of the acceptable range. But we really do not want to be going above that for the reasons I mentioned above. Too much of a good thing turns into a bad thing. And the crazy little fact about protein is that experienced athletes probably even need less protein than new athletes. So they're probably okay on the lower end of that healthy range, which probably doesn't seem intuitive. But because you're more experienced in muscle breakdown and repair than novice lifters, your body can be more, you don't damage your muscles as much, so you don't need as much protein. So just because you carry a lot of muscle, that doesn't mean you need a lot of protein. So there's the protein stats for you on why the 20% to 30% is an okay range, and why at a minimum you want to be hitting that 20% every day. All right, and on to my last topic, adjusting your macros, which some of you have been asking about already. So why I love MyFitnessPal as an app and as a tool that we use, sometimes it just spits out generic recommendations. It doesn't ask enough questions to really get to know you. But that's fine. It is completely sufficient for first-time clients. But we can kind of tweak it a little bit to you by modifying your macros. But modifying your macros is not something you want to do routinely. So before you even think about doing that, first ask yourself, are you well hydrated? Are you sleeping okay? Are you overstressed? Are you overtraining? Working on those categories is your first line of defense. But if you still feel they're okay and want to look into adjusting your macros, here are the ways to do it. We adjust the grams, so your grams of your fats, your carbs, and your protein, either up or down by 5% at a time. We're not doing huge changes here. Don't give in to the temptation to adjust down just because you want to lose weight. For all the reasons I started out with, making your calorie deficit more extreme is bad in the long run for the impact on your metabolism. So don't give in to the temptation to do that. You only adjust down if you seriously are stuffing yourself and eating beyond satisfaction on most days. The opposite happens for adjusting up. If you find that you're hungry at the end of most days, this is not a starvation diet. I don't want you guys going to bed hungry at the end of the day and struggling to get your intermittent fasting in. If that's you, then that means the macros should go up 5%. So up or down 5%. Talk to me before you do it though. But then in some cases, there may be some of you that are struggling to hit those carb macros and then feel that you find great on low carb days. This is when instead of that 50-30-20 split, a 40-30-30 split may be more appropriate for you, just based on the slight sensitivities your body has to carbs. Again, if you think that's you, talk to me, we'll work through it. You have to be patient. This is a process. I know we all want instant gratification, but I really just want to encourage you to stick to the MyFitnessPal goals that we set up at the beginning, unless for any of the reasons above, one of those really spoke to you, in which case I want you to follow up with me individually, and then we will figure out how to best fix them to meet your needs and get the results that you want. So again, a lot of this was just a little bit of the science and a little bit more detail about when to know when to stop eating, what the heck is up with protein that I keep commenting on, and should you be adjusting your macros, which really that's not something that we want to be doing too frequently, but because I've already had a couple of questions on it, I wanted to address it. So hopefully taking a deeper dive was helpful to you guys. Happy to do that if you have questions on other topics as well. I love seeing all the macro charts you guys are posting. You're really into it. It's great. Keep the questions coming. Keep sticking with it. 1% better every day. You guys are just learning the process, learning how it works. Before you know it, it will become second nature, and you'll love the variety and the intentional way of aligning your workouts with your eating. And really, it's meant to be more efficient for you as a lifestyle. I know that's how I find it for me, but it did take me some time to get there, to reach those efficiencies by really understanding the process at its core. And that's all the work you're doing now during the 6-week program. So again, any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you on the Facebook group.